it's a lovely morning here on TV3 New Day. Certainly, we are pleased to be joining you in your homes because, of course, if they can see us, it means they are live. So certainly, we are happy with you because we are live as well. And this morning, we're blessed because you can see, you can hear, you can move, and you can certainly speak. That alone gives you an opportunity to thank God again for a beautiful Tuesday morning. And I'm here with Solace and Bright.
Hallelujah.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
How are we?
Yes, we're great. It's a wonderful Tuesday morning, as usual.
Terrific
Ready to serve you the best breakfast in town, and that's where you get it. On TV3, you have a wonderful breakfast that will give you that excellent health you need to start your morning with. So just stay right here with us from now till 9 a.m. We'll promise, we'll deliver, and we'll get to the end of the show. But this morning, Solace has all the news from the world of business, sports, entertainment, and she always has all the news.
But you know, because you speak of food on Tuesdays, I don't know, but it seems to become a trend that on Tuesdays, I dream, I mean Monday to Tuesday, I dream of food. Because this morning, I woke up dreaming of boiling egg. And I'm wondering where that, where that came from. And so I don't
There's a myth about that. There's a myth about dreaming of boiled egg. I'm just saying.
Certainly, eggs are good. It shows fertility and prosperity, so I claim it for myself.
Boiled egg. I think the only kind of food I dream of is the banku or fufu.
I see.
Or I think the lightest one will probably be wache.
That's good.
Or ambisi.
Last night I had a lengthy chat with a nurse, and we were talking about issues of diabetes, and she said, well, the banku, the fufu, they are right, but the issue is what you do with that after you have consumed the whole stuff into you. And so if you can, it is not about not eating it, it's about what you do with it. So if you're engaged, if you're into some construction work, it means that
you'd expel all that you've accumulated.
So yes, do it, but don't just do it and jump into bed. Even though a lot of us are.
Well, I guess then it is a good thing that a lot of young people now are adopting, the lifestyle of exercise and working out. Although it seems a bit more like a fashion and a trend now than something that actually is supposed to make people healthier. Hopefully it won't die off when something else happens, because usually that's what happens. But we keep exercising, not necessarily going to the gym and taking those gym selfies, but actually concentrating on Bright. Why are you laughing? Well, it's the truth. I mean, everywhere you go, it's like a trend.
So people work out for
benefits.
For pictures. So for people to see. Sometimes I know some people, they don't even exercise. They just go to the gym. They wear the kits. They take a picture, do one or two things, and that's it. Just for people to think that they're in the gym, because it's trendy now. And I mean, your health is your health. Being trendy with your health,
But you know how much cities how many cities we can save if it becomes a whole policy of government to encourage people to exercise. We spend a lot of money getting drugs imported into the country. So if we can get people to put in exercise daily, and I am thinking that our government, instead of talking about looking for money to buy medicines and health equipment, should be thinking about getting these ministries, department, agencies to have some workout places wherever they are, and even get private businesses to do same. Because look, the problem with some people is that they cannot leave the office for 10, 15 minutes to go out there and work out. So if there's a small place around your workplace where you can go high there for 20, 25, 30 minutes, it helps. And it saves a lot of money, and that's what a lot of us do not know. When you're healthy, a country will spend less money on buying medicine. So maybe government should begin to think about it.
But then nutritionists will also tell you that when it comes to living healthy or having a healthy regime, it's 80% diet.
Right.
You need to concentrate on the things you eat. Not everything that looks good is necessarily good for you. I mean, the doctor is here; she knows more. So I think that's the problem. A lot of young people are. These trends of wanting to be hip and wanting to be associated with certain things that are considered popular also doesn't help us when it comes to our diet. The junk food, it's like the trendy thing. When you are eating your ampesi and your the green abom with your small palm oil and your eggs and maybe Kobe here and there. People are even sometimes embarrassed to let people know the kind of stuff. I love that. I think that's one of my favorite local dishes. But most people would rather take the fries, and we all know how much damage that can do.
Is it?
The fries.
Surprisingly,
fries.
I can't do. You know me, the oil, it gets to me. So I mean, once in a while, but I think that's like once in a very long time. It's not really my calling. Fruits, veggies, yes.
Okay, so this morning, trying to get you into know exactly what to eat and what not to eat, and I'm sure by now you've been thinking about your meal for the day.
I know.
So I learned something. We were told that the last meal should be that of a beggar. I don't know. So a beggar's food is just
a beggar. Okay.
Yes, a beggar.
Hey, but the beggar's is very considerate because it's very subjective. Some beggars and their bowls, I beg you. I don't think it's a fair deal.
All right.
I want to bring a bowl like this.
That won't need so much digestion overnight. But it's time for the news with Solis.
Okay.
Indeed, it's time for the news, and we'll be looking at updates from the world of health, education, some politics, and of course some business. Good morning and welcome to Morning News on TV3 with me, Solis Rose Corte. Let's start with our first story, and the 5-member committee empaneled by Chief Justice Sophia Kufu to investigate the abuse of power and corruption scandal against the Electoral Commission have met the petitioners and respondents. In the first sitting of the committee, Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, is said to have written to the President demanding a copy of the original petition filed against her. The 5-member committee is chaired by a Supreme Court Judge, Justice Bainin, 2 Court of Appeal judges, as well as 2 other members nominated by the Council of State. The request for the original copy of the petition from the presidency by the chair of the Electoral Commission is said to have been necessitated by failure of the Chief Justice to respond. Now, this, she said, is a breach of her constitutional and legal rights, which she finds inappropriate. She said she was also not informed of who were the members of the committee. The committee was established because the Chief Justice, in a preliminary investigation, reportedly established a prima facie case against the 3 EC commissioners following separate petitions filed against them. The whole action against the EC gurus was triggered by a petition sent to the presidency by lawyer Maxwell Opoku Ajiman, who was acting on behalf of some unnamed staff of the commission, seeking to trigger impeachment proceedings against Charlotte Osei. Now, moving on to some other issues, the police have beefed up security in Najong No. 1, a community in the Bunkung-Bunyonyo district. This is after some unidentified gunmen, numbering about 8, on 4 motorbikes attacked traders at the market and fired indiscriminately into them. Now, 4 people were killed with 8 others injured, including 2 women, on Sunday, December 10, 2017. Addressing the media at the police headquarters in Tamale, the Northern Regional Police Commander DCOP Patrick Edusei Sapong indicated a joint police and military force has been deployed to the area. The CID of the homicide unit from the headquarters in Accra is helping to investigate the matter. He, however, disclosed that no arrests have been made yet since the gunmen fled on their motorbikes to escape any arrest. Now, DCOP Sapon appealed to individuals who have any information to assist in investigating and arresting any of the perpetrators. In a related development, DCOP Patrick Edusei Sapon revealed the case involving 6 suspects who were arrested with 6 new pump-action guns and 100 cartridges have been transferred to the police headquarters in Accra for further investigations. The 6 were arrested on Friday, December 8, 2017, when they were on board a Nissan patrol vehicle with registration number GE 543316 heading towards Namong in the West Mamprusi district. And let's do some other stories. And I have not directed anybody or staff of ECG to reactivate cards for customers in the districts. now reports such incidents to my office, and those found culpable will face possible dismissal. Now, that was the managing director of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Engineer Samuel Boakye, issuing a stern warning.
The managing director, Engineer Samuel Boakye, was addressing a news conference in Accra. It was to explain the work the Electricity Company of Ghana had done since its built operating transfer system failed. So far, it has cleared 41,490 customers out of the 300,000 customers on its system. Those affected were located around Kaneshie, Dansoman, Achimota, and Kolebu. Currently, most of those affected have been cleared, and the ECG says it is hoping it will complete the exercise by the close of this week. However, some customers and media reports suggest that the ECG officials are moving through the districts to reactivate cars for them. But the managing director of ECG, Engineer Samuel Boakye, warned those officials to desist from that.
Fix lights for anybody, any customer who has this challenge. ECG has not authorized anybody to do that. If any such has come to your attention, we'll be glad to receive the reports and the details so that we act swiftly on it.
Of major concern to Ghanaians now, whether the ECG would compensate customers affected by the problem. But the managing director said customers who present their complaints would be considered. He again indicated that it would identify the cause of the problem to ECG after its evaluation the next few weeks.
Indicated that we will definitely assess the situation, whatever has happened, and do a comprehensive, review and cost of, what has happened.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Bui Power Authority, Fred Owari, has indicated plans are underway to merge the Bui Power Authority with the VRA. Now, speaking at an encounter with the media, he said a committee has been formed to look into the merger and will begin sitting today.
The Bui Generation Station was built at a cost of about $800 million, with the Chinese government providing a concessional loan of $260 million and a buyer's credit of $298 million. The government of Ghana also contributed $60 million. Since its inauguration in December 2013, the facility has been generating averagely 220 megawatts of power daily to the national grid, though its installed capacity is 400 megawatts. The CEO of the Bui Power Authority, though declined to give figures, indicated that the facility, since it began operation 5 years ago, has generated enough to pay a significant part of the buyer's credit, adding it's been a profitable business.
Even the concessionary loan that Ghana government is paying, there's been an agreement that has been executed between Ghana government and BPA that when we finish paying the buyer's loan, they would have finished paying the concessionary loan, but they would let us pay. So it's been unlent to us.
He said it's a cabinet decision to merge the authority with that of the VRA, and that a committee formed to advise government on it will begin sitting tomorrow.
If it comes and said, merge and put all assets in one balance sheet, that would be a government decision. But at the committee level, I can only offer some advice. Once upon a time, all the companies which had anything to do with the energy generation was under VRA. We saw the wisdom and took ECG out.
On renewable energy, he said the authority intends to become the first hybrid generating company by the end of 2018, combining hydro and solar power generation.
We have finished the construction. We have tested and commissioned a switchyard capable of evacuating 250 megawatts of power.
Now, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo says selfless leadership and strong policies are key factors in enhancing the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. Speaking at a high-level roundtable discussion on mobilizing support and accelerating implementation of the SDGs, the President encouraged Africa to use the SDGs to change the narrative of the continent.
Discussion, an initiative of President Akufo-Addo, has at its specific objective to define fundamental enablers to achieving success in the implementation of the goals at the Africa regional level and country level. There is also a call to ignite action and mobilize regional support for the implementation of the goals, propose practical, smart and innovative actions needed to underpin the accelerated implementation. Rwandan President Paul Kagame called for private sector collaboration.
Integrating the SDGs into these plans and ensuring the implementation cannot be successfully achieved by government alone. This is why strong collaboration with the private sector throughout the process is critical for reaching a win-win situation.
President Akufo-Addo said Africa must pursue the implementation of the SDGs now if the continent is to transform.
We have an exceptional opportunity going forward in translating the extraordinary goals enshrined in the SDGs to end poverty, protect the planet, and secure prosperity. There are many reasons that make me optimistic about the future. But perhaps the single most important one is that increasingly, Agenda 2030 is no longer seen as someone else's agenda. The extraordinary efforts and actions required to achieve the SDGs are beginning to coalesce in the partnerships that we're building across national governments, civil society, and the private sector.
Later at the Roundtable Presidential Forum on the role of leadership on the implementation of the SDGs, participants agreed the SDGs should be part of domestic political discourse to promote its effectiveness.
Now to some agriculture news. Maize yields in Ghana stands at 1.7 metric tons per hectare a year, far below the expected 8 metric tons. With the country's population increasing at a rate of 2.5%, the low yield of maize is definitely a security concern, food security, that is. Professor Felix Asante of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research suggested with the best agricultural practices, the yield can be closed.
The maize sector has consistently increased in the level of output. However, recorded increase in output has largely been attributed to increase in area under cultivation rather than increase in yield. Maize yields have marginally increased from about 1.2 tons per hectare in 1990 to 1.7 tons per hectare in 2014. Ghana consumes 40 million bags of maize annually, translating into 1,000 metric tons a year. Director of research, Professor Felix Asante noted the causes of low yields can be attributed to dependence on rainfall, poor agronomic practices, low fertilizer use, among others. He said this in Accra at a roundtable policy workshop on integrated assessment of determinants of maize yield gaps in sub-Saharan Africa. Professor Felix Asante indicated the low yield situation as a result of security concerns.
We are doing this because we expect that population will double by 2050. We expect that Ghana's population will be hitting almost 45 to 50 million. Land is also becoming scarce, so we have to make maximum use of a piece of land. So if we're able to build, to bridge this gap, then we can get more output per unit plot of land.
A senior scientist and a market and policy analyst at Wageningen University and research at the Netherlands, Dr. Royal Jognel, indicated the program was to identify the potential and what is actually produced and deal with the bottlenecks.
So first identify the yield gap and then try to explain this yield gap, what are the factors causing this big gap. And when we have identified that, we could say as a next step, see what policies could help to overcome these bottlenecks and improve the maize yields.
General Secretary for the Agricultural Workers Union, Edward Karewe, stressed on the need for good pricing, storage, marketing and insurance for the farmers to boost increased and improved yields.
At the heart of production is efficiency and effectiveness. So the technical knowledge of the producers is critical, and farmers here will require that technical knowledge from extension officers. In order to increase their technical knowledge, you need to actually get more extension officers.
The research aimed at generating results relevant for policymakers by providing insights into drivers of agricultural performance and helping farmers and rural communities on productivity.
As journalists, we cannot continue to hold others accountable while we do the very thing we criticize them for. Now, these were the words of President of the Ghana Journalist Association, Afil Moni, as he received donations from WACAM and BOST towards the upcoming GJA Awards. Natalie Fort has more.
The 2017 edition of the GJA Awards is to be held on December 13, 2017. The year under review was a period of advocacy for most media houses aimed at ending the fight against illegal small-scale mining, popularly known as Galamsey. Hence, the theme for this year's awards ceremony being Safe Mining and Environmental Protection, Role of the Media. Associate Executive Director of WACAM, Hannah Owusu-Kranting, expressed the commitment of the media to the fight against Galamsey was a major factor in helping curb the menace.
It's good that now many journalists are getting interested in the mining issues. But then the work is not done. If you're talking about mining, the menace of mining, it doesn't begin and end with illegal miners. Because if you look at surface mining, it's just an illegal mining is an offspring of the illegalities that had been perpetuated over the years.
The president of the GJA, Afil Moni, encouraged journalists to refrain from collecting bribes to facilitate their work, noting the Constitution frowns on such activities.
Our heart bleeds over the conditions under which some of our work and the salaries. There's a sharp contrast between what the high-profile media houses give in terms of salaries and working conditions and what others receive. So ours is to help not only to bridge the gap, only to strike a semblance of decency as far as the issue of salaries and working conditions are concerned. We believe in what our Constitution says, that because by virtue of our work, we're supposed to occupy a moral high ground. And so anything which will compromise our job should be frowned upon.
WACAM offered a cash check of 50,000 cedis to the association for the award ceremony, while BOST presented a check of 100,000 cedis. Management of the Ghana Journalist Association expressed gratitude to corporate Ghana and civil society for recognizing the key role of the journalist.
And that's all for morning news on TV3. I am Solace Rose Corte. New Day returns shortly after this. Good morning.
Very well. This December, TV3 is invading your homes with more excitement, and why not? We are the best in entertainment. That's why we're also invading your business with solutions. Imagine a television series that answers all your questions about business, including attracting loans, keeping accurate financial records, and above all, staying profitable at all times. In addition to Sadia, which aired yesterday, we're adding Solutions, another groundbreaking television series about doing competitive business in Ghana. It is fun, humorous, and intellectually stimulating. If you're a business owner or intend to own a business, don't miss this all-new, informative, and truly educative business drama series, Solutions. Solutions is brought to you in collaboration with Premium Bank and Genius Africa. Watch the premiere of Solutions this Wednesday, and the story continues to unfold every Wednesday only on TV3. Of course, TV3 is first in news and best in entertainment. But it's time for headlines. We'll start off with Daily Heritage, which says, LPG marketers to withdraw operation tomorrow if. Also, Government Committee on Bui VRA merger meets today. Then the EC boss and her 2 deputies are hot. They meet the CJ's committee over corruption scandal. And then finally, disabled in the North face joblessness and other challenges. That is what a research from HFFG has revealed.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of interesting items there on the newspapers. The EC boss's process has started. That's great. It's a constitutional thing. So we'll just wait and see what will happen there. Since it is not open to the public, a lot of the information we hear might be sources from our own attempts at getting you the news. So yesterday we were told already that AC boss is beginning to complain about certain things that were not done right. For instance, we're told that she said that she's not been given a copy of the actual petition. She wants a copy to study. She's not been given, and a few other things. So it has started. Let us wait and see where it gets to. These are processes that I believe have constitutional linkages, and so we'll wait and see where it goes. But the VRA merger is what I am trying hard to understand exactly where the direction is. VRA, does it mean that we're on course with the attempt at selling their thermal plants, and so in pushing VRA and BUI to merge, then VRA's main focus is now to concentrate on hydro. That's what I'm beginning to glean from what is happening.
And that's where I'll be interested if the energy experts really delve into it and break it down and simplify it. Right, you know I like simple things because it's very difficult to understand. First of all, what I have always understood is that these challenges come from ECG not paying them whatever they owe. And so, because BUI in yesterday's statement clearly stated that whatever loans they had taken, whatever they had done to get to the level they are, they always offset their loans, but now it's ECG that owes them. And so for me, if it was a revenue issue, then they had an issue with ECG, but otherwise they were being able to deliver part of their mandate. As I understand, they are. So I certainly do not at this point really understand why we're selling off their thermal plant to VRA. But moving forward, it looks as if BUI then is trying to focus more on solar energy to, you know, give to these northern parts and 3 other parts that they're looking at. I, for one, I mean, there's a confusion there. I'll be happy if they give us the explanation of what BUI now is really going to do. What the merger means. Yes, what a merger means between these two. Doesn't mean VRA takes over the hydro section, but BUI will continue with the solar section that is going on. Anyway, but certainly maybe the merger too will also bring some benefits to us in the sense that VRA then will expand its base for hydro. Yes, become a bigger company because they'll inherit what BUI has in terms of what they use to generate the electricity, and certainly then VRA has a bigger platform. But if we still have the issues we have with VRA, then really, is this the time where we want them to merge? Is this going to become profitable in the end for all of us, or is it still going to bring us into shambles as we think VRA has put us? And then we need answers.
Yeah, of course, we need some answers on that.
But the LPG marketers too are going to withdraw. Certainly. Everyone seems to think going on a strike is the solution to these issues. But I, for one, have understood what the LPG marketers are saying, that there was a policy which was to look at cylinder regulation, but they as stakeholders were not involved. And so they're saying until they come on board, then they shouldn't roll out the policy. But my problem is oftentimes stakeholders seem to, you know, attack government for not involving them. But you knew this was going to happen. You knew there was a policy that was going to be rolled out because of the disasters we've seen, especially with the Atomic Junction incident. And so even if they don't call you, at what point can you also step in and say, okay, we are the people it directly involves and we're interested in this because it's our stake. Can you then involve us in these dealings rather than wait out for it to roll out and then come and say we won't accept it and then we will go on strike if you don't take it or if you don't withdraw it? I think we've come too far to be going back and forth with these issues. And so I think we as stakeholders also have that role to play in actively making sure government involves us before
what is happening. I think the issue borders more on what they would lose as LPG marketers, because the recirculation policy before, when it was brought first and it met that resistance, I guess the whole idea was some of the businesses were going to go down because certain operations that they were into and they were making profits were going to be taken away. So certainly they were not too happy about it. But their claim that in writing or rewriting the policy, they were not involved. For me, it's a sad situation. Now, if you read the story as reported by The Heritage, it says that the marketers are saying that the new policy that they have seen is simply the old one that they kicked against. Yeah. And that is my worry, because we're here when this policy was brought under the previous government, and there were a lot of commentary on it in the media. Marketers, LPG marketers, suggesting that we will not bow today, we will not bow tomorrow to pressures to get that policy put in. So for me, I thought that when the policy was withdrawn and in going forward, the new one was to be sent out, they were going to be involved in rewriting, or perhaps if there were certain portions of the policy that they were not too excited about, they were going to be involved in reshaping it so that the final product would be what these marketers are happy. The story says that the new policy they are seeing today is simply the old one that has been rehashed, and they are not happy about it. I think that it is good to save people from the danger of gas filling stations scattered across. But in doing it, let us involve those who matter, those who run the businesses. I do not think that if we go ahead and do without them, we'll be achieving any results. Look, I tell you, this is Ghana, and certain things can be done. And these marketers, you'll be surprised you find them operating even though the whole process has been changed. So let's involve them and see where it goes. But as for the strike that is starting tomorrow, well, it's getting to Christmas, so I think the Energy Ministry will try as much as possible and speak to them, because we're heading into Christmas. Any attempt at withdrawing their services, refusing to sell LPG, will only mean doom for people in the festive season. We're not ready to do that. The charcoal is not available. We are still using the gas.
Very well. So let's move on to Daily Statement, which also says government to blacklist institutions without GPS address by 2018. And then a cashew mass spraying exercise has been kicked off in the Brong Ahafo. Also, President tells African leaders we have resources for prosperity. And then finally, the Strasbourg tasked government over corruption.
Okay.
Yep.
So great stuff. Again, the statesman has those stories. But as for this issue of Africa having resources for prosperity, even before Nkrumah came to Ghana, the resources were there. I think the key thing is about whether the resources that we have as a continent, we've been able to use it. I heard the president clearly when he was being inaugurated, when he said that the only way to turn this economy, the economy of Ghana around, is to get away from the Gadgetsburg economy where we carry our cocoa, our bauxite, our gold, and go and sell it to the Western world. He said the only way out is to stop that. So indeed, the resources are here. How to use it to bring prosperity to our people is a huge headache to almost every African president. Africa, I said, is not poor. It is indeed true. But we want to see or hear a lot more messages that will show that the leaders are doing something. For me, there's too much talk about Africa has it, Africa has it, Africa has it, and yet we see nothing. Every African president who is said to be a great president is only heard talking. That's all we hear. That, oh, he is a great man because he makes great statements, great speeches. When it comes to using the very resources that they claim we have to turn around the lives of their people, they are unable to do it. And yet, we see all these being bantered about by the Western media that these are great African leaders. Great in what? How do you sit in these massive resources and yet unable to use the resources to turn around the lives of the people? And yet we are told that they are great men. For me, the leaders, the African leaders, if they want us to stop looking at them as mere presidents who come and serve their term and go, the resources that we have, we know we have it. They shouldn't tell us that we have it. They should use the resources, change the economies, and then we can say, I saw a story in one of the newspapers that 4 out of every 10 Ghanaians
want to migrate.
Why would they migrate? Because the resources here are not used to better their lot. So the talk is okay. We can compile speeches if we go to the United Nations of these African leaders from when the UN started, and you can listen to these speeches and say that these are great speeches, but where do they end? Okay, in the shelves or perhaps on the shelves of the United Nations, use the resources, turn the continent fortunes around, then we can say that indeed Africa has great leaders. But if this is what we get all about talk, then we might not be going anywhere.
You know, Brett, for me, when I hear these kind of statements, the question that goes through my mind is, so what exactly then are we supposed to do? Because as leaders, you are supposed to direct the people in the direction that will lead us to use the resources appropriately. Oftentimes, it comes across to me as if African leaders tend to be selfish, whether they know it or not, unconsciously or consciously. Really, when they come into power, because of the kind of politics we tend to play, it becomes about fulfilling my party's duties, doing my party's bidding, and leaving whatever
in order to win the next
election. It's always about the power thereof. But they don't remember that you have a responsibility to generations yet unborn. Because, like you said, when your name is mentioned for being great, what exactly should that great-grandchild remember you for? What institutions did you put in place? What policies did you set up that have transcended generations and are still existing enough for them to appreciate what you did? Because I, for one, look at, I mean, there are so many theories about what Nkrumah did and what Nkrumah did not. But I see certain structures, and I'm happy that at least, if even years back, he thought about putting something like Kolebu, which still stands as Kolebu. I'm happy that at least he thought of something as big as that, and it's still standing. Kolebu will still be Kolebu many years down the line because of what Nkrumah thought. What then are these current presidents or leaders doing for us, so that when my child is born years later and gives birth, they also know that, oh, there was a president who did A, B, C, D for Ghana. But when we say we have the resources, we know. Even before I was born, I'm sure I knew that the country I'm going to has resources. But what it has done for me, I'm yet to find out.
Yet to find out.
Anyway,
all right, so we'll see what happens. Very exciting headlines. Grab a copy of the newspapers around you and read the details there, and follow what's happening today on the newspapers. Quite exciting. Let's talk about the Kumasi Academy issue. And George and his team are ready to rant this morning. But hey, exactly what do you make of it? Have we, as a country, handled it well? The people around say, we are told that the swine flu can go and hide for a very long time and come back more dangerous. Exactly how we're treating it. Those in charge are dealing with it. You saw the fumigation there at the Kumasi Academy. Is that indeed what you think will solve the problem? George and his team are ready this morning. They are jumping into Daily Rant.
Today on Daily Rant, we delve into a worrying development in the Ashanti region, precisely the Kumasi Academy Senior High School. And we are told from April till now, about 11 students have been confirmed dead through the H1N1 influenza, popularly referred to as swine flu. And each and every day, we get new twists to this development. Let's discuss matters arising with regards to this whole development. Welcome to Daily Rant. You've all been in senior high school before, and you know how, it feels like being away from your parents. So how did you feel? Just put yourself in the shoes of these students. How did you feel when you heard these occurrences?
Initially, when I heard about it, I was a little scared. But then maybe I'm matured now, so I thought people were like these kids. They are really younger, very young as compared to our ages, even though we were young. I thought these kids were in good hands. But at a point in time, I really got scared because people were dying, and they were dying, and nothing was being done about it. And it's interesting. You see, what people don't, what government representatives don't get is, if you are a headmaster or a headmistress representing a particular institution, you represent the highest authority, the government there. So if you have certain situations, take give the most important solution to it. You just don't play around and let people lose their lives. Then the government comes and give 5,000 for them to do funeral or something. The person is dead.
As at now 11, perhaps there may be more, we can't tell. Just pray it actually maintains to that 11. So we pray at least World Health Organization has come inside, the school has closed down, and those affected are being treated. So we just hope for the best.
Imagine how these parents will feel if your kid is there, you're a sibling, you have brothers. It's a boys' school, I guess. You have brothers.
No, it's a mixed.
It's even mixed school.
The last death was a lady.
It's not fair. It makes it feel like we can't take care of ourselves, and now we have to go rely on a World Health Organization from April to now. Why?
You had it in your family.
Yeah.
I had it in mine. What have we all done about it? Maybe our kid brothers do not know about it.
Okay.
But in my own way, I've been able to machinate to get my kid brothers to go to the hospital to get vaccinated.
Why don't you slam the NCCE?
The what?
NCCE.
No, but the fact that the NCCE, Commission for Civic Education, and other bodies may not be working, effectively, does not mean I have to sit and wait for them to come to me before I make any move. For the fact that, like I'm saying, I'm privileged to have heard it, then it is good that I have to find a way and means to get my family in there so that they also get themselves vaccinated. That is what I'm saying, that it's not a one-man fight. It is about the totality of almost all of our efforts. All of us should in a way and means contribute. We cannot now begin to blame the school authorities in the sense that I don't remember the government gave vaccination to any of the schools that they should be giving to the wards when they come. There is nothing like that, right? Good. Neither can we also be able to point hands at any responsible organization within that vicinity that they are the ones responsible for some of these things.
We should blame somebody. We should blame the authorities.
We should blame them. They messed up.
I'm not massaging the issue. I'm just facing the reality.
Is your dad the headmaster?
No, my dad is not a headmaster. Everybody knows my dad is a cop.
2 or 3 weeks ago, they had they actually said it wasn't swine flu.
Yeah, that's from the parents.
Now, and it's funny, some are even seeking spiritual warfare or something.
Coming up.
Yeah.
Okay. There had not been serious diagnosis. Me crying from what I heard, unless what I heard is also false. I heard that the diagnosis was actually apparently done in Accra here. Noguchi.
Yeah.
So they carried the sample all the way from Kumasi, brought it to Accra, Noguchi, before Noguchi was able to confirm this is what is happening. Okay, so it is all obvious. It's like right now when you have chills on your body and you are puking. It is natural or normal for everybody around to think, malaria. It's normal. You understand? So maybe at the time they had a whole lot of things they were alluding it to, that because of the symptoms it could have been it. It is normal for stuff like that to happen. Now at least we know what the cause is. Let's all relax, sit back and begin to, in a way, find a solution to it. No, we cannot bring the death back to life.
Okay,
obviously, we cannot bring them back.
Coming in when I heard the issue, it was very sad and disheartening. This institution are there for us to build human capital, and and it points to the fact that our health sector is lagging in so many ways. You see, because when the issue started in April, it took enough time, April, May, you see, pointing to the fact that since April, nothing was done about it. Recently that Noguchi, we give them recommendation for taking the sample of the issue and taking it up. You see, so it points to the fact that we need to strengthen, government needs to strengthen this institution, the various research institutions, and we have to place premium on science and technology.
Exactly.
Do you understand? So that at least it's a good development in the way, but it's very sad because people have lost their lives.
Ordinarily, our parents, let's just put ourselves in the shoes of these students. When it happened like this, the parents, went to the school and worked away their.
Because it was authority.
Yes.
Since April, they hear people dying. These kids are dying. They are dying, and nothing good is coming out of it. No, he or she will go in for.
But it's infectious. Those students in the house now might, transfer to other people.
George, let us start looking at the issue from the PTA itself. We call something the Parent-Teacher Association, and they meet almost like I think once every month, every term, right? Once or so, almost every term. So they are PTA, including the parents who were there.
You could even say not even about
including the parents, including the teachers, including the headmasters, the headmistresses, and all that, including even the prefects among them. Okay. Now, when they realized all these things were happening, what are the efforts they laid? Way back in Pope John, all of us can attest to the fact that.
But the parents don't have the same PTA.
Oh no, the parents do.
Remember,
the parents do. The parents do.
No, it's not majority. They decide and push it on you.
No, they do. I mean, recently I've been to Accra Academy.
Most PTA
on behalf of my kid brother. All right. And then when we go, no, all of us have been through school.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the thing. Our fathers, excuse me to say, some of us, our fathers were senior high school leavers. So at the time they came for PTA in our school, they didn't have some of the English crowd, they didn't even understand. So it's normal for them not to be quiet. But now, someone like me, I go to Accra Academy and everybody over there recognizes me because the fact that after my degree, I know what you are saying. I understand what you are saying. I've also been through the senior high school system. I can challenge you and tell you no. Let us put it this way. You understand? That is why some of our own were in school. We had some of us. We had friends, colleagues whose parents were well known and our parents were not well known. You know what I'm saying? It's like that.
Because passing through SHS, we all pass through the system. Sometimes you take the health condition of even the students into it's very bad.
It's bad and it's still bad.
You know,
it's right towards secondary school.
It's compromised. The sanitary condition with relation. The last time I was talking, that's the issue. Look at the toilets.
Even the food they eat.
It's very, very bad.
And their dormitories are so congested. The dormitories are so congested to an extent that whatever someone is inhaling or whatever the person is inhaling, you are breathing it.
Do the little things. These things could have been avoided. But some parents are dragging government and the headmaster to court.
They should. But in as much as they are dragging the parents and what they are dragging the government and if I had my own way, I would have also dragged those parents also to court. Because frankly speaking, I want to point out that some of the parents.
All right.
Yes. But all that while, don't you think all that while, what were they doing?
Because it's infectious, and so if they are vaccinating all these students,
we are a third world country. We are actually relying on World Health Organization currently. We don't really know a lot lot of things. As of now,
not that we rely on them. Imagine. They are the health body the whole world, so most definitely they should come. Not we rely on them.
You are relying.
That's World Health Organization. So if there is a death crisis like this, they need to come in. And moreover, it seems like my learned colleagues here are only looking at the bad side of secondary institutions like secondary schools. Way back in school, we had like inspections. We have dormitory inspections. We have lunch inspections. We had prefects who work. You need to clean your laboratories, clean your dormitory.
Those things are fading out. No, currently they don't do things like that.
Talking about infrastructure or something.
Slide. Yeah, then slide. What did you say? What did you say?
They don't do that.
You say that it's fading. Why is it fading? Why? Because they say we should not punish the children when they come in from one. They should not weed. So these are some of the repercussions. We all live in the debt. We all live in the debt.
I know you've heard about that of Kumaka, and even there's one at Koforidua, secondary technical senior high school. Meningitis has killed a second-year student.
Imagine.
And the fumigation exercise has started in Kumaka. Don't you think it should, translate to other schools?
Let me tell you, these fumigation exercises are not initiatives, excuse me to say, of the government. These are stuffs that apparently the administration of the school sometimes even end up billing the parents for. Now we understand the Ghana education system is saying that they should not be billing them here and there and all that. Now I don't want there to be another stakeholder conference whatsoever. But if you're a responsible parent and a headmaster is telling you that looking at situations now, this is what we need. First and foremost, all the children should go to the hospital and go and get vaccinated. Come back to school before you are given entry. Come with a card. Like the way we have yellow card if you are traveling outside the country. Come with a card. Then with a card, when we know that you have been vaccinated, we allow you to continue.
We used to.
All right? These are some of the measures that they can put in place to ensure that these things do not occur moving fast forward. Let's look at the solution moving fast forward.
Okay, this might be a solution. I'm coming. This might be a solution. The Ghana Health Service and the Ministry of Health have, commenced a process that will ensure that they will establish an infectious disease hospital. So at least
when would they finish doing it?
The very moment you started talking about Ghana Health Service and all those things, we know what these people are capable of. Wait, what did you say? It's a fraud.
Infectious disease.
They are just going to charge us to pay extra tax for nothing. Please forget about that thing. Look, moving fast forward, all parents should take the responsibility up themselves. They should walk their kids to the public health section of a hospital, any responsible hospital, get them vaccinated.
But I didn't bargain for this. I took my word to the school not to get disease.
No, but please, no. But the truth of the matter is that it's like rashes. It's like rashes, or it's like how do you call it? That thing that chicken pox and the likes. These are not stuffs that you can say that I did not bargain for. They are just capable of happening. They are diseases. Okay, so take your kid to the school, get your kids vaccinated. Simple as ABC.
Clear on the development, at Mark, let's know what you also think. Log on to our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's News on TV3, and on Twitter, it's on News TV3. Thanks for watching.
What are we talking about today?
Okay, today I want to talk about the state of the economy.
Yeah. State of the economy. All right, peeps. So join him and I on this show, The Rant, a new day.
Daily Rant.
Daily Rant. I got it right. Daily Rant, New Day. Okay. On TVC3.
Yeah, TV3.
Yeah. On TV3. You are not nice. On TV3. Join us on this show, Daily Rant, New Day on TV3.
Yeah.
We rock.
Yeah.
Right.
This is what it feels like.
All right. So the Ghanaian Times begins the morning and says that Ghana rally support for SDGs at high-level meeting in Accra. Photograph of the president and other people. The president of Rwanda was also there. That's on the Ghanaian Times. Daily Guide says EC bosses probe begins. 3 weeks to file statement. The custodian says Alabi caught Mahama for 2020 NDC bid. The finder, Bridam, generates $335.7 million. And Statesman says we have resources for prosperity. That's the president talking. Daily Graphic carries that big story of the probe of 3 EC chiefs. Their photographs here on the front page. One other story on the Heritage: LPG marketers to withdraw operations tomorrow if that's in the Daily Heritage. That's the story there. The marketers are suggesting that the policy that will come into force, they did not take part and they are not too happy about it. We'll take a look at that story later on. But my guest this morning, the Member of Parliament for the Secondary Constituency, a member of the NPP, Honorable Andrew Jepa Mesa, is here. Good morning.
Good morning, Brad.
I hope you're doing great.
I'm well.
Thanks for your time with us. And also I have a Member of Parliament for the Tamale North Constituency, a member of the NDC, Honorable Alhaji Suhini, also here. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great.
I'm terrific by His grace.
Right, so let's start with this one. Almost every newspaper has it. The probe of 3 EC chiefs. Daily Graphic is carrying the story on page 3. The process to ascertain the veracity or otherwise of the allegations leveled against the chairperson of the Electoral Commission and her 2 deputies took form yesterday when the committee set up to investigate the allegations met the 3 EC officials for the first time. The 5-member committee, which sat in camera, began its work after the Chief Justice, Madam Justice Sophia Akufu, had established a prima facie case against Mrs. Osei, Mr. Sule Amadou, and Mrs. Opoku-Ajima. We're told that on the face value of the allegations, the Chief Justice has found the need for issues to be probed further and for the EC officials to respond accordingly. And that's the story so far. We're told that for 3 weeks, they'll be sitting and have to take a look at the allegations which were made by some EC officers, the petition made by EC officers to the president. And we quickly take a look at this story. Honorable Jepa Mesa, let me start with you. These are processes, and so for it to begin, perhaps more revelations will come, but already we hear of some of the processes not getting what it needs. For instance, yesterday the chairperson is suggesting, for instance, that she's not received a copy of the petition, the original petition that was sent to the president. Now, will this bring back the EC as the EC that we know?
Well, good morning to my good friend Alassane here, and to your cherished viewers, particularly those in my constituency, Second D. I do not know, because I do not intend to preempt the outcome of the processes. I mean, As we speak, nobody has been found guilty of any offences.
Exactly, but the perception, the allegations that were thrown about by the chairperson and deputy chairperson.
I'm glad you used the
perception.
Word. I'm glad you used
there's
the
something
word.
wrong at the Electoral Commission.
You use the word perception. That is why the Constitution sets out a clear process, pretty unambiguous in terms of what it is that should happen when allegations of this nature are made against certain categories of judicial officers. And the Electoral Commission, the 3 commissioners are deemed to enjoy conditions of service of those judicial officers. And so the process for, as it were, removal or investigating those judicial officers is what has been triggered. I mean, it's pretty interesting. I do not expect any revelations to come like you suspect during the proceedings, because it's intended to be in-camera proceedings. I do not understand why we are fighting, if you like, this battle in public. I really was taken completely aback when I saw this story sometime 3 a.m. this dawn that the EC had written to the president asking for a copy of the petition, because I thought that the process having been initiated, CJ having established a prima facie case and accordingly moved forward to set up the committee, necessarily she will be entitled to all the allegations or a copy of the petition and all documentation relating to the allegation to enable her respond. I say so because, I mean, if you look at the constitutional provisions, all it says is that the president receives the petition and forwards it to the office of the Chief Justice for the Chief Justice to then make a determination regarding whether there's a prima facie case for the accused person to answer. And so writing to the presidency for a copy of the petition seemed strange to me.
When the proceedings were has started?
Absolutely. And I understand that when the petition was forwarded to the Chief Justice's office, a statement of the allegations was relayed to her and some response elicited from her. So to go back to the presidency for a copy of the petition, and I think that she is entitled to a copy of the petition. Going to the presidency for a copy is what I found strange. But then again, I mean, I believe
where else could she have gone to?
That's what I'm saying, that if you look at the constitutional provisions, it says the president receives the petition and forwards it. He has no right to make any determination of the petition. He receives a letter, opens it, sees that it's a petition against a particular individual who is occupying the judicial office. And his only duty is to forward that letter or petition to the Chief Justice. Now, the Chief Justice has set up a committee having established a prima facie case. So if you need a copy, where should you go? Is it not the Chief Justices or the committee to inquire for documents relating to? And I think she has a right to those documentation. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt whatsoever. I do not see why a copy should not be made available to her. Now, I'm sure that if she makes appropriate representations to the committee that has been set up, that copy will be made available to her. But beyond that, I do not want to preempt the outcome of this case. There's a hearing that is going to happen in camera. Accusers would have to prove the issues that they've raised against her. She has an opportunity, in accordance with the natural justice principles that is embedded in the Constitution, to, as it were, refute the allegations that are made against her by her accusers. And at the end of the day, some ruling or some conclusion will be arrived by the committee, and appropriate recommendations, whether in favor of her remaining or her being removed would be made, and the decision will be taken at that point.
You said she has every right to receive a copy of the petition. When should this be given her? The process started yesterday.
Yes, and so I think that she should make representations to the committee. I'm sure, well, from the story, she went to the Chief Justice's court with solicitors, and I believe that Mr. Tadiosori is a very competent lawyer. Provide her with the needed advice. She herself is a lawyer, and I'm sure that of course, I mean, you can't have an action at the one forum and seek information from another forum. I mean, that was just my thought, that appropriately the forum where the matter is being determined is where every information that she requires regarding the inquiry should be obtained from.
Right. I'm grateful. I'd like to see any. So the chairperson has some concerns, one of which is that 6 months after the petition, she's yet to receive a copy. Honorable the Prime Minister, your co-panelist is suggesting that, well, the forum or the source which she's asking for the petition is wrong, even though he agrees that she is entitled to get a copy of the petition.
Right. Let me say good morning again to you, and good morning to my honorable colleague, and good morning to our viewers. I think that this is a very, very worrying development as far as our democracy is concerned, and we need not take it lightly at all. I don't think that we should wait until things get to the head before we begin to react, because it is a very, very serious threat to our democracy. What is happening like a joke is a very, very serious threat to our democracy and the survival of same. You realize that in 2018, if we are to believe His Excellency the President, even though there are very good examples in 2017 that can make one doubt him. But if we were to believe him, you would realize that we will have a number of activities in 2018 that will or can only be supervised by the Electoral Commission. You're talking about a possible referendum on the creation of new regions. You're talking about a possible election of district chief executives, and that is for 2018. You also have in 2019 the district assembly elections coming up, which possibly will be in September 2019. Clearly, that will be less than almost a year to the next general election. So you're talking about the Electoral Commission that is supposed to be preparing in earnest for the possible election of DCEs next year and a possible conduct of referendum to create new regions next year. And then the general elections in 2020 and the district assembly elections in 2019. Battling for, identity and for survival, because that is clearly what is happening with this ongoing, I don't know whether to call it persecution or probe into allegations leveled against the chairpersons of the Electoral Commission. So it is a very, very serious threat to the survival of our democracy. And that is why civil society organizations, religious organizations, our international partners, and all those who mean well for our democracy, especially because we are an example to emulate on the African continent, should not take this lightly. It is risky. So I don't want to even go into the merits and demerits of the allegations that have been made. I'm just looking at what this portends for the future operations of the Electoral Commission this far. Now, again, without going into the merits and demerits of the allegations that have been raised, I would have wished that a government formed by the New Patriotic Party would have been more careful in dealing with this electoral commissioner. And again, I'm saying I'm not looking at the merits and demerits. I'm talking about why I think the NPP government should have been more careful and more tactical, you know, and perhaps more refined in dealing with issues relating to this electoral commissioner, Madam Charlotte Osei. You recall the hula baloo, the brouhaha that surrounded her appointment. Big, notable people in the NPP said many things, unprintable in some cases, and suggested in other cases that she will be removed. It's on record. Many notable people in the NPP, when she was appointed, said she didn't deserve that position, and that all that they were going to do to make it impossible for her to operate, because at the time they believed she was only appointed to pronounce the NDC victorious in the 2016 general election. So they made pledges and public pronouncements to the effect that they will not work with her. And that is why in government today, every move of theirs should be very calculated, else it will be very easy, and you can't, you know, you only but have to forgive anyone who thinks that this is just a continuation of the plot to remove Madam Charlotte Osei. You only but have to forgive anyone who thinks so because of the earlier pronouncements and the stance against her appointment. So I am looking at it all play out, and I'm wondering what is happening. Now, when you talk about these things, and you see, I'm saying it because we all, maybe to borrow Honorable Alhaji A.B.A. Fuseni, he will say that when a hyena howls in the evening and then at dawn a goat is missing, you only have one suspect. It is possible it's the hyena who has eaten the goat. So that is why they have to be careful. Now, when you talk, can I proceed?
Now, I'm only assisting you.
What I'm saying is that even though it's circumstantial, but what I'm saying is that
to establish that indeed is the hyena, you have to have evidence that
can I proceed?
Only one conclusion.
Can I proceed?
You allow him to.
What I'm saying is that you cannot blame anyone who thinks that it is the hyena who has eaten the goat until you have contrary evidence. You can't. Now, when you talk about these things, what you are told is that a petition was sent to the president, and the president has no interest in it. So he simply forwarded the petition to the Chief Justice as required by Article 1463 of the Constitution. Now, Article 1463 talks about the removal of justices and so on, chairman of tribunals and all that. Now, in the wisdom of the Constitution, there is a reason why the petition to remove a justice of the Superior Court has to go to the presidency, even though in the end, the Chief Justice is the one who will perform the function of forming a committee to look into it. Are you saying that if I want to petition for the removal of the Electoral Commission chair, and I know that the Chief Justice is the one who will form a committee to determine a prima facie case, are you saying I do not have the address of the Chief Justice?
So your point is that there's a reason why it goes to the
presidency. There is a reason why it
Okay.
goes to the presidency, so that the president becomes the gatekeeper. the president becomes the one who weighs the petition and decides if it should be considered or not. So it is disingenuous to say the president has no hand in it. He simply received the petition and forwarded it. There is a very good reason why the petition has to go to the president, even though the Constitution says that it is not the president who will determine who looks into the petition. If the framers of the Constitution didn't want the president's thinking and the president's action on it, the framers of the Constitution would have simply asked you to direct your petition to the Chief Justice, because the Chief Justice has an address and the Chief Justice can be petitioned. So why did the Constitution say direct your petition to the president? So that the president will be the one to decide if the petition has, to be considered or not. Now, the other ridiculous part of it is the fact that this petition, when it first emerged, we were told 60 people. It reduced to 19 people. Now we are told 3 drivers. Or is it 2 drivers?
Well, 2 drivers.
2 drivers were those who were there. And look at what Madam Charlotte Osei is now seeking. A prima facie case apparently has now been determined against her. Yet she doesn't even know what she's been accused of.
That's not true.
Why is she now writing for the petition? You see, that's why I say
that's not true. I mean, I wonder why.
If
every NDC person that has a discussion on this subject,
he was almost wrapping up.
Please go ahead.
Right. You see, maybe once again another proverb to help my friends in the NPP. When you are pounding fufu for the blind man, in order to convince him that you are not eating his yam, you have to be whistling. And that is what the NPP is failing to understand. You see, when you speak in this manner, it is very easy and tempting for somebody, especially my friends in the NPP, to think you are defending the Electoral Commissioner.
But that is exactly what you are doing.
That is not what I am doing.
Because otherwise you wouldn't be picking and choosing.
Honorable Mesa, when I come
that's
to you...
That's precisely what you guys are doing.
And tell me what you disagree with.
If what I say...
He's wrapping up in just a few
seconds. What I say pricks your conscience to think of it as a defense of the EC chairperson, I have no apologies. But what I am saying is that there are too many things that, lend support to the thinking that this may be a continuation of an agenda that started in opposition. And I am giving you examples of things that, contribute to that. And it is only in the interest of the government and for our own democracy to do the right thing. Because we all are stakeholders in this democratic process.
Okay.
And you and I are earning salary as operators and workers in that democracy. And remember, the alternative will make you and I jobless. Because you see, whenever the Constitution is overthrown, the executive remains. In some cases, the judiciary even remains. The only institution that is, put on ice is usually the legislature. Okay. So we are stakeholders, and we must be careful that we are not blinded by partisanship to see the glaring wrongs that are done in this process.
I am grateful. Right. He's raising issues.
And I will deal with all of it.
First, he says that the chairperson doesn't know what she's been accused of, and you think you disagree?
That's not true.
Okay.
Because in her own letter that Joy FM intercepted, she says that the Chief Justice wrote to her with the statement of the allegations. That is the news reportage. But that she is not in the know as to who her accusers are.
Okay.
And so a copy of the petition should be made available to her. And I'm saying that yes, she's entitled to a copy of the petition. But if you read the Constitution, look, this is not the first time in the history of this country where a process to remove a judicial officer has occurred. In that instance, it was not a worrying development. It was not. When Madame Loretta Lamte went through the same process under your government, it was not a worrying development. Is it not the same process? Why do we want to pick and choose? That because it is Mrs. Charlotte Osei, it is persecution?
Is it not the Electoral Commission? Shraj and Electoral Commission?
They are all absolutely under the Constitution.
Okay.
The offices are sacrosanct. They are protected. Indeed, look, I have said
you won't put one on top of the other?
Not at all.
By way of
how so?
Our democracy?
None whatsoever.
Okay. All right.
Shraj, Electoral Commission, National Commission for Civic Education, they are the same.
Okay.
Okay, the commissioners who are appointed there have a tenure of office until retirement or until this process is initiated to remove them for stated misconduct. So let's not pick and choose. Look, and I'm saying that, look, let me finish. If this government has an interest in the removal of Mrs. Osei, okay, you know my recommendation? Do you know my recommendation? She should just be transferred. Because she was transferred from the NCCE to the Electoral Commission. Even though she had a protected office, she was not removed on Article 146 when she was moved from the NCCE to the Electoral Commission. So there's a clear precedent that could easily have been followed. But in spite of all the issues that people raised, and people had issues with her appointment, why not? Why not?
Is that not the reason why Honorable Soyini thinks that this government should tread cautiously because of certain comments from certain party officials?
Assuming that all the things that he said are right, that people made issue, and that when a hyena holes at night and the goat gets missing in the morning, okay? So if you need the goat for Christmas, you don't kill it because a hyena has holed. Allegations have been made against her, regardless of the comments that people made in the MPP.
You're not worried about the
I'm not worried at all. Because I know on authority that
opposition in government now want to remove her.
No government official or the government is interested in a removal.
Yes, I'm saying, yes, I know, but I'm saying that, are you not worried about the perception
I'm not worried.
The then party in opposition now in government wants to remove
playing politics with it. Okay. And let's tell them to stop. That's what we have to do. Okay? Allegations have been leveled against her. It is not the case that the president has asked her to leave office. There's a constitutional process. She has a right of hearing. So let her go there and prove that all the allegations that have been leveled against her are untrue. Why do we do this to ourselves as a nation? That because people made issue about her appointment, even if she's committed some wrongdoing, we should leave her to sit there? And that when people bring an allegation against her, the president should sift through when the Constitution clearly gives him only one role. Look, you say what? There's a reason.
He also raised that issue that there's a reason, of course, that the Chief Justice has an address. And so there's a reason why the Constitution says under 146, get it to the president first. You disagree with him on that?
Article 146, okay, is a process for removing judges of the Superior Court. Do you understand? It's a process. No, wait.
Is the EC chairperson in that category?
No. But because her terms and conditions are equivalent to the Superior Court judges, that is why this process applies to her.
So she's seen as a judge. Okay.
You understand? So the reason that he is saying the Constitution made the president gave him some other role other than being a postbox is simply not true.
Oh, that is
because I'm saying no. Wait.
It is a fact. That's why he says it.
Wait. This process is for the removal of judges, and that when a petition is leveled against a judge, it is for good reason that the Constitution says let it go to the president, because we don't want the Chief Justice just receiving it and putting it in her trash bin and shredding it.
What reason is that? He
Okay,
thinks that
I've
it
given
is
you the
to
reason.
allow the president to
I've
take
given you the reason
another
that
look at it.
it is for the president to know that a petition has come.
Okay, just to know.
Absolutely.
Okay. So he has
So
no
let's-
option at
there's
all.
no option whatsoever, and the
president
constitution
can be
is
copied.
clear.
And the president can be copied.
Look, the constitution.
Can't you write to the chief justice and copy the president?
I am not the person who drafted this constitution.
Yeah, yes.
The framers of the constitution clearly had a reason why this process is what it is.
And you think it's just to let the president
Absolutely.
know that we have written.
Okay, in any event,
all right.
all these officers are appointed by the president. So if a petition comes, it has to go to the president. But then again, because we do not want the president to interfere in the administration of justice, it goes back to the chief justice to make a determination. When it affects the chief justice, it goes to the council of state.
Okay.
Let's not play politics with everything. Okay? This allegation that have been leveled against Mrs. Osei, it should go through the due process, and that is exactly what is happening. If she's found culpable, so be it. If she is found not to have committed the offenses that are alleged against her, so be it. Why do we have to think that because people said that they were opposed to her appointment, necessarily they will wish? In any event, was she not there when we won the election?
All right. I'm grateful.
Please.
Right. Maybe just some quick.
Quick one. Then we'll move on.
First of all, my colleague here talks about the Chief Justice writing to Madam Charlotte Osei and stating the allegations. That is not true. I also listened to the news report. And yes, she was informed of a petition that she has received as Chief Justice, which she's setting up a committee and all that. But even in that statement, I mean, in writing to the presidency, Madam Charlotte Osei quotes that letter from the Chief Justice and says that the petition, however, was not attached. And so she wants a copy of the petition. So you just write to me and tell me that there is a petition that has been sent to me, you know,
alleging
making allegations. So I want the petition. You are stating it. You are saying there's a petition alleging ABCD. How do I know if that is, perhaps that's your understanding of what the allegations are? Let me get the petition as a lawyer, and with my lawyers, I will study it and make it clear and make my response clear. Then he talks about the petition going to the president because the president only has to know. There's another way that you can notify the president. That's by petitioning the Chief Justice and
But that is not for you to determine.
and copying
it's for the Constitution
president.
to say.
So you see,
it is not your view.
if
Your
the
views don't
president-
matter.
if it
it's
was
the constitutional provision.
Honorable Mesa, he has a right to his view. So,
but his views do not matter. That is not what is contained in the Constitution.
But allow him
Let's
to
not confuse our listeners.
allow
please.
him to air his views, please. Honorable Mesa.
Your views do not matter in this instance at all. It is the Constitution. It's in black and white. And that's what is going to happen, not what you think should happen. Please.
Honorable Mesa, if you can calm down.
I'm
please,
very calm.
Okay, please. Please go.
Yeah, so the Constitution that he talks about does not say that it is for the president to know. That's his thinking. Yet he says, my thinking shouldn't matter.
Let's move on.
You see, the Constitution doesn't say that it's for the president to know. The Constitution
It doesn't
says
also say that
the Constitution
the
says that
president should.
no. The Constitution says that you write to the president. You send your petition to the president, and I am saying that the framers of the Constitution cannot make that long procedure, cannot create that long procedure for nothing. Because if they wanted just the president to know, as he is suggesting, the other way would have been to petition the Chief Justice and copy the president. But you know, he sums it up when he says that when you want a goat for Christmas, you shouldn't care about perceptions. And so, for me, it is a goat. It is a goat
out of context.
It is a goat that they want for
what I
Christmas.
meant.
You
know exactly what I meant.
Because you see, and this is only in line with what we have already seen.
Is she about the law?
No, that is what we have
already seen. About the law.
Honorable Mesa.
What are you talking about?
That is in line.
When Mrs. Madam Loretta Lamte was being removed through the same process.
That is in line with what we have already seen in many other state institutions since the MPP came to power. We've seen it from the Bank of Ghana, we've seen it from BOST, we have seen it at TOR, we have seen it at National Service Secretariat.
Look,
we have seen it at
I'm
National
saying that the government is even being lenient
you are
to people.
seen to have been.
If you hear the former president saying that he has people in the Flagstaff House who give him information about resignation letters that were drafted. What does it tell you? All he's telling is that we move all the people who were give me information.
What is your point here?
He's justifying.
I'm justifying. Yes, I'm telling you that the comment is even lenient.
So what is your point here?
Yeah.
What
they should sack everyone who is perceived to be
because they are being political. That's what they're doing.
Are you?
They've loaded all the public offices with political people.
Is the EC chair one of them?
Unfortunately, I do not have the power. No, we are not talking in relation to EC. I've made my point relating to EC. Okay, he brought instances of other public office holders who are not acting as state
Remember
officials,
His Excellency the ambassador
political
said,
officers
you are
of
not
the
an
NDC.
MPP man, you are not Ghanaian. The ambassador said it, the High Commissioner.
I am grateful. We'll leave it here. Let's move on.
You don't deserve to work in any state institution.
Some other issues with I don't know if the VRA
state.
Give me the Daily Heritage. Let me quickly take a look at what is there. This LPG rail circulation policy is back again. Now, we're told that the marketers want to withdraw operations from tomorrow if they are not made part of what is going on. We're told by the story on the Heritage that the LPG Marketers Association felt the decision of the ministry to bring back the policy without their input was wrong. They are saying that as major players, we think as various associations in industry, we should have been invited to give our quota from the beginning of the process. When we look at the policy, our roles have been taken away from us by a new set of people who decided that we were not going to be part of it. Another meeting, we're told, was called sometime in October that they wanted to pass the policy, so we should bring our input. We resisted the attempts to pass the policy because the policy was inimical to us and our job. Now, the Marketers Association are saying simply by the story that the policy that is about to be implemented, once they don't have or they didn't make input into it, they are likely not to benefit. And so from tomorrow, if they don't hear anything from the Energy Ministry, they're going to withdraw from the market. You won't get LPG to buy. And they cited the fact that they have taken monies from financial institutions, and their fear is that their money will be blocked if the policy comes into force. Some of them will be shut down and they can't get back their investments. Honorable Mesa, this issue is back again. The marketers are simply saying that the policy as drafted by the Energy Ministry is without their input, and so they are worried about it. I don't know. These stakeholders and inputting them or making their presence felt in the policies that we draft, is it something that we're not doing well?
Well, I do not have the details regarding this story, but I've not seen the policy. But if I recall, when the decision was taken to set up these plants, the understanding that we were made to have by the Ministry of Energy and the MPA was that the present regime, where bulk vehicles bring the gas and, as it were, discharge into a receptacle, was what was going to be taken away, and that the bottling was going to be done at a designated plant, and the cylinders, as it were, sent to the depots of the marketers to then sell to the public, so that I do not have to take my cylinder there, stand for it to be refilled for me. I just have to go to the Lois that I buy my LPG and exchange my cylinder with an already filled cylinder bottle and take away. So these marketers were still going to be the people who were going to play that same role, except that now they don't have to expect a vehicle coming to dispense at their depot. Already filled bottles would be delivered based on their own orders to be delivered to them for onward sale to the public. So I thought it was a pretty straightforward arrangement, which does not necessarily need additional input from the marketers before the policy is formulated. And if their complaint is that the policy has changed, I don't know whether they themselves have cited a copy of the policy. I have not. And so I beyond that cannot speak more to it. But I'm sure that these are issues that can be resolved easily between the ministry, the MPA, and the marketers, because I mean, the expectation is not for people to go to the bottling plants to go and buy the gas from there. The gas cylinder bottles ought to be made available at proximate locations for people to access. And so I really do not see their fear. If my understanding of the policy as explained by the ministry is anything to go by, and I do not have any reason to doubt that that is what is going to happen. And so I think that, well, they've given a day's notice to the ministry. The ministry, I understand, is prepared to take into consideration the input of all stakeholders. And I'm sure that the Minister of Energy and his deputies, together with the NPA, would engage with them in the course of today to resolve whatever outstanding differences that there are, so that we do not have them go on strike tomorrow. That clearly will impact people who would need to purchase gas from the stations for whatever commercial or domestic purposes that they need them for.
Grateful. Honorable Suyini, so policies and I mean those that it affects and soliciting their inputs, we seem to be always running into problems.
Yeah, first of all, I hope they do not carry out their threat of going on a strike, because that will be making an already bad situation worse. And I'm talking about the fate, unpleasant fate of electricity consumers in some parts of the city who are unable to purchase power. Even with their money and with enough generation capacity, and so are forced to sleep in darkness. If their problems will be compounded by the unavailability of LPG, then it is going to even be worse, because you can imagine if you don't have lights to heat the water in the morning to bath, and you have gas, you can at least manage to survive. So I'm hoping that they don't embark on the strike action that they are threatening. And you know, it's all interesting, and this is for laughs. I mean, I was thinking about it, and it just occurred to me that an incompetent government generates enough power, but a competent government is not able to just sell the power. Isn't that ironic?
I will take it just as you said it.
Isn't that ironic?
I see.
You know, but yes, I don't.
It is a challenge just selling the power.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope the LPG Marketers Association do not compound an already bad situation. But you know, coming to the issue at stake for which they are making this threat, I have been listening to the MPA boss, Hassan Tampuli, and I think so far he's doing great with his outfit. And somehow, from my perspective, I'm kind of convinced that it's, you know, a very good intervention.
There is circulation.
There is circulation, and you know, even the president of the Marketers Association now claims that it was a policy by the previous government, and they had to negotiate, thinking there will be some changes, and they are not seeing those changes. But I'm saying that from the explanations that I hear, it sounds like a very good idea to me. But you know, the one who lives in his room knows where it leaks. So they are the people on the ground, and that is why it would have been important that their views are factored into the introduction of the policy. And from what I gather, listening to the president of the Marketers Association, it's not as if they are also out and out against the policy. They are not outrightly against the policy. They simply are worried about the possible impact, negative impact on their operations and their business. And the fact that they are not, as we speak, getting even funding from the financial institutions, because the whole narrative seems to suggest that their business will be taken over by some other group of people. But I don't get that impression when I listen to the Minister of Energy, when I listen to the NPA. And so I think there is either a missing gap or there is something in the policy that, as marketers, they know will work against them, which the policy makers are not telling us. And that's why I said that the one who lives in his room knows where the roof is leaking. So you may listen to the policymakers and it may sound all nice and good that their businesses will not be affected, but they are operating, and so they may know some other, subtle ways by which their businesses in the long run
is likely
will be.
to close down some of these gas filling stations.
Exactly.
Yes,
So those are the concerns.
Which are unable to meet the standards will have to give way to those who meet the standards.
I think
that's where they're
that is where they are, and that is going to lead to, yes, even if it's going to just be losses for the business person, it's also going to lead to job losses, and an increase in the unemployment rate of the country. So that is why it has to be carefully, discussed and implemented in such a way that jobs will be protected and businesses will be protected. I think we all agree that there has to be something done differently to guarantee our safety at these, gas stations. But it should not be done at the expense of businesses and at the expense of jobs. And that is why the two bodies, policymakers on one hand and the marketers on the other, need to work together to ensure that in the end, a safe method or a safe way of, redistributing gas is done in tandem with jobs and businesses that are already in operation, so that we do not have one problem solved only to create many more other problems.
Okay, I'm grateful. Let's quickly wrap up on this one. The VRA we dam measure, we're told that it's not concretized yet. The chief executive has been talking about it, and he says that it still remains a government decision, and they're expected to meet today to once again take a look at the idea of merging the Weipa Authority and the Volta River Authority. He said that there's a committee that has been formed to look at the measure of the two organizations, and it's a government decision, and the government will be advised by the committee as to how to go about it. And he says it's even premature to be talking about it, but it's a government decision and so be it, he said while addressing the media in Accra. Some are beginning to raise concerns about attempts at selling the thermal plants of VRA, and perhaps the concerns, one of which is this, one of the strategies in order to get rid of the thermal plants of VRA. But Honorable Mesa, let's quickly bite on this one before we wrap up. We VRA measure, is it to strengthen the energy sector?
Well, I guess that the experts in the field would have advised that that may be the route to go, and potentially is as a result of the decision to separate. You see, I have not heard anybody say that government wants to get rid of the thermal assets of VRA. What I have heard it being said is that it's the intention of government to delink the hydro from the thermal, and when that is done, clearly there may be the need for a new vehicle to manage the thermal assets, for VRA to focus on the hydro assets. And since Bui is hydro, maybe the decision is further to consolidate the two so that we have one entity managing our hydro power assets and another entity managing the thermal assets. Of course, from the story, clearly it's not been firmed up yet, and that some discussions are still ongoing. I'm not an expert in energy, and I only know law. So clearly, if the experts believe that that is the way to go, and they advise government to go that route, I think that that is ultimately what is going to happen. I guess it's early days yet. We'll still follow the space and see how it pans out. But I guess that because if you look at the cost of producing the hydro as opposed to fueling the thermal, clearly there's some disconnect, and VRA has always been suffering because of the impact that the thermal cost of operating the thermal has on their hydro operations. Because I mean, the last time that I bothered to check the VRA's annual reports, it will surprise you to know that it was a very profitable company until 2011, 2012 thereabouts, when, of course, arising out of the energy crisis, and all that, they started going down. So I guess that to bring them back into profitability, that is the decision that the experts had advised government to go, and so we'll watch the space and see how the developments pan out.
Grateful. The measure to strengthen VRA and give it more power?
I'll come to that, but my worry is that I'm unable to see a clear policy direction as far as our energy sufficiency is concerned since this government took over. You recall that the previous administration had some targets, one of which had to do with the generation capacity of 5,000. And by December 2016, the generation capacity was around 4,500 thereabout. And if you look at the 2018 budget, the finance minister talks about the generation that is potential, that is also coming on board next year. And these were all plans and projects that the previous government put in place to meet the 5,000 target. I'm just reporting what our facts. Do you get it? So clearly that there was a plan, and there was work in progress, and there were even results, and there were other in the pipeline which are being delivered as we speak. You also had the Ghana gas that was brought on stream to ensure that there was constant gas supply to our thermal plants, reducing the amount of money we spend on importing crude into this country, which always had a very hard hit on our currency. So, and then you had the Sankofa and 10 all coming on board to increase, the fuel availability to power. So clearly you had a plan, and this was going to lead into even the bauxite production and aluminium and the reactivation of Valco, where the Akosombo Dam, which generates at the least cost, was going to be dedicated to the Valco. And so there was a plan. Now, I've been listening to the energy minister, I've been listening to the finance minister, I listened to the president. I don't see a clear direction. And that is why I don't think the concerns of workers that the decision to merge Bui and VRA is only so that the government can get rid of some of these generation plans, the power plants that they have. I mean, you cannot discount those fears. They cannot be said to be unfounded, because you see, when you don't know what the plan is, as in this case, you are forgiven to suspect anything. And that is the situation we have now. I agree that VRA has more experience when it comes to managing a hydro plant. And so I think there is some wisdom in adding Bui, which is a hydro plant, to VRA, so that with their long term,
that does not constitute a plan.
with their long term, you know, experience, they may be able to do that. But I've also even heard somewhere that there are attempts to privatize and sell off some of our thermal plants, when the previous plan was to ensure that we became energy sufficient to the point that we even export energy to other neighboring countries. So why have we all of a sudden gotten to a place where, you know, it looks as if we have enough when our demand is increasing at skyrocketing, you know, rate, and we seem to be acting like we have enough so we can get rid of something? I mean, that is the fear. I'm not saying that is the reality, but that is the fear, and I'm saying you can't dismiss that in the absence of any clear directive or direction as far as the power management is concerned.
But I thought I indicated right here that I haven't heard anybody say that they are selling off or disposing of our thermal assets.
The workers are suspicious of it, and they may know better than you and I.
But you are sitting here articulating it to the whole.
I'm saying you can't dismiss their fears. Yes, I haven't articulated. I just say you can't dismiss it. It may not be.
I'm grateful, gentlemen. He's a member of parliament for the secondary constituency, Honorable Andrew Japan Mesa. Elijah Suyin is a member of parliament for the Tamale North constituency, a member of the NDC. We're grateful if you send in your comments. We'll read them. Stay with us. There's more coming up.
But it's been about 3 months down the line since free SHS started, and we know that situations in various schools are not anything to write home about. But we see what Okuapeman Senior High School is going through about 3 months down the line since free SHS started, and Solis Rose Corte has that for us.
Dining is over, and it is back to class for students of the Okuapeman School in the Eastern Region. The school is one of the accredited inclusive education institutions in the country. Authorities tell us of the 843 students currently enrolled in first year, 22 are visually impaired. With 13 boys and 9 girls, this is the highest number the school has seen since the inception of the program. The number is expected to rise, with more of them trickling in even well into the second term. At the Okuapeman Senior High School, visually impaired students are exempt from taking calculatory subjects such as core and elective mathematics.
So the Okuapeman School has 6 general arts classrooms, and of the 6, 1 is reserved for visually impaired students. This is GA2. Now, mind you, it is an inclusive education program going on, and so they do not have a class just for them, but they are actually in the class with sighted students as well. John, hello. How are you? All right, my name is Solis Rose and I work with TV3. I'm just going to be spending a few minutes with you. Is that okay? Yes. Great. So where will I sit? Who will let me sit beside them?
Okay. In this classroom were some familiar faces. Some of these young people sat for the Basic Education Certificate examination in June this year.
My name is Japheth.
Japheth.
Yes.
I remember you from when you were writing the BAC.
Yes.
How are you doing?
By the grace of God, I'm doing well.
Are you happy with your placement here?
Oh yeah, I'm actually happy because all things are going on well, smoothly.
How comfortable are you with the system that is running, where you are here with everybody else, some of your colleagues, and then some of your other colleagues who are sighted as well?
Oh yeah, I'm comfortable because they help me in doing everything, especially when transcribing my work into the print form of writing.
What's your favorite subject so far?
Oh, actually, the subject which is going on, which is government.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Oh, I want to be a lawyer.
I'm also here with Simon. What's your favorite subject?
CRS.
What do you want to become when you grow up?
I want to be like you.
You want to be like me? Simon wants to, so you want to be a journalist. Who's your favorite journalist?
My favorite journalist, Danko Kuyabo. TCF.
I see. Well, Dan, that's for you. Do you have any challenges?
The challenge we are having, we can write pen. This I will write machine. So we want a Braille textbook.
What's your name?
Cecile. I feel comfortable and okay being with them. I've been talking to them and making friends with them.
All right. It reminds me of senior high school. Well, at the time it was SSS, but now it's changed. And how, at least everyone had a desk to themselves, but right in the video we saw, some students have to share desks and all that. But anyway, some are happy to. Yeah. And one guy says he wants to be a journalist. We hope that dream comes to reality.
But I'm happy that the inclusive education thing is indeed working. The infrastructure isn't there, but at least we're seeing the effort being made by authorities, officials of some of these schools to get them that conducive environment for them to be able to learn. We will never have a situation where we have a total complete set of infrastructure for them. So getting them into the regular schools and getting them the opportunity to move on with their colleagues who can see is indeed a great one. I guess more support would need to be given to these ones. All right, we're stepping on the brakes for some time now, but we are telling you that Give us P-Power capsules. It relieves you from that sexual weakness that has been bothering you all this while. You're running into trouble anytime you get home because you're told that you're not a real man. What you need to do is to take Give us P-Power capsules. Now, Give us Cool capsules also relieves you from severe waist pains, constipation, piles, phlegms, and menstrual pains. Get rid of them. Use Give us Cool capsules.
Certainly, and do visit your doctors out there, because now what the problem is, everybody in Ghana seems to have turned into a doctor, and everything is cocoa. We have cocoa of the eye, near, nose, every part of the body. So I ask, what exactly is cocoa? Anyway, if you have answers for me, send us messages tomorrow. We'll read them. Have a blessed day. We bring it to a wrap here on New Day, right from TV3 tonight. 8 p.m. Sadia will also be showing. If you missed yesterday, certainly catch us today. Sadia will be a good one. But we'll wrap. We were just taking a break. We'll be back to end the show for you. So stay here with us on New Day. Well. So you've heard so much noise about foreign telenovelas, but this December, TV3 is invading your home with more excitement because it's bringing you locally produced drama series. Of course, what we're talking about is Solutions. Imagine a television series that answers all your questions about business, including attracting loans, keeping accurate financial records, and above all, staying profitable at all time. In addition to Sadia, we are also adding Solutions, another groundbreaking television series about doing competitive business in Ghana. It is fun and intellectually stimulating. If you're a business owner or intend to own a business, don't miss this all-new, informative, and truly educative business drama series known as Solutions. It is brought to you in collaboration with Premium Bank and Genius Africa. Watching the premiere of Solutions this Wednesday, that's tomorrow, and the story will continue to unfold right here on TV3, which is first in news and best in entertainment. But yesterday, you saw us interview the Director of Public Health from the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Bedu Sarkodie, and of course, we have an exclusive with him as he discusses the outbreak of H1N1, which is known as swine flu here in Ghana.
In April, the cases that you were dealing with in April were confirmed to be due to Neisseria meningitis type C. That was very clearly confirmed meningitis and was managed as such. Unfortunately, some of them died, up to about 7 of them or so. So we have lost life in the two circumstances, 7 here, 4 there. But then they were dealing with 2 different situations. The challenge we had with the April outbreak was that the students, when they were referred from the school infirmary, they went to about 8 or more different hospitals. And it did not register well early in the health records because they were not coming back when they died. So the deaths were not being being registered, clustered in the school. And that is why it took a bit of time, more than 1 week, for it to be registered that we are having cluster of death in Kumaka in April. There was the need for health authorities, and that's GES, Ghana Health Service, and then also Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, to come out with modalities to enhance school health nationwide, using the experience at Kumasi Academy. And this has resulted in designating every school to specific hospital. There has come to the conclusion and planned for some basic screening mechanisms for all the new entrants. So we have adequate baseline health reports and records from all the students at the time of entry.
Okay. With the current issue at hand, has surveillance been conducted?
Surveillance is always ongoing. This is a school where about 5 months ago, meningitis outbreak had killed 7. And the initial symptoms, they had fever, they had headache, there were general bodily pains. And of course, if you have general bodily pains, it will also affect the muscles of the neck. So there were neck pains as well. This is enough for everybody to think meningitis. So we did what needed to be done. There are various investigations, and the management was on that line. Then the tests that were conducted all proved negative.
Okay.
And then subsequently, I think about day 4, that the symptoms of respiratory infection became much prominent. And then that was what led to the need to think of a severe acute respiratory infection. Appropriate sample, being throat swab, was taken to the necessary lab. And then the investigation finally came up to be influenza type A, H1N1. Surveillance, it didn't start at the time that this condition started in the school. We have surveillance system for influenza nationwide. Okay. Every region, we have more than 2 sentinel sites. That every week, they take samples from people with symptoms that could be influenza-like illnesses.
And this includes all the senior high schools across the country?
No, you have to first report to a hospital first. That's a sentinel. Okay. You need to express symptoms that could be influenza or any upper respiratory infection. And then you take the sample. So this is hospital-based surveillance. Periodically, we get 1 or 2 H1N1 influenza type A, and indeed that seems to be the predominant flu circulating in the country. Okay. But then the flu was not that aggressive and hardly was killing. Indeed, in 2009, when we had the pandemic of H1N1, when it was declared public health emergency of international concern by the World Health Organization, in country we recorded close to about 10 cases, and it was 1 who died. The death rate has not been that high, and then people don't come up with severe complications as we've been observing until this outbreak, where the cases have clustered at one school, and then the death rate is very high. So that is the situation that we have. We've been monitoring very closely, and every week, cases of signs and symptoms that could be acute respiratory infection, possibly influenza-like illnesses, are sent to the National Influenza Center here that we have in Noguchi. It's not only for the country. It's influenza center for our sub-region.
How prepared are our country's hospitals, especially with holding room or considering the degree of infection of a patient?
See, preparation is a process, and at any time you keep improving. And at the time that you were anticipating to have Ebola in country. We were lucky we didn't have it. There were adequate preparations, and all health facilities were requested to designate places for isolation when you have a disease condition that can be contagious. What we require, which we don't have now, is infectious disease hospital. Okay. And we need to work on this very seriously. Center of excellence that would have the facility, the infrastructure, the personnel, the capacity built adequately to international standard to take care of all infectious disease conditions, so that the staff handling it will feel secured, and then the people that are affected would also be given the maximum support. We need this, and I'm aware that the Ministry of Health and then the Ghana Health Service leadership have started a process to get infectious disease hospital. But we need, but now you should have had it. So these steps having been initiated have to be taken very serious, and as a country, we need to designate a place where you manage very serious infections that have potential of mass spreading, so that you would enhance the health security of the country.
Now, within our communities, what should be done as individuals to avert the spread of these viruses?
Right. There's a lot that the community members should have. The first and foremost, information on the condition should be given out, and the health authorities, health information ministry have been designated to give out the information to the general population, and that the signs and symptoms, what it is, and how to prevent and protect against. We need to enhance all the preventive mechanisms. Prevention pays, and need to invest into it. As individuals, what we can do to help is to strengthen our sanitary conditions, environmental sanitation, and personal hygiene. Okay. Personal hygiene, hand washing of soap and water is very effective. And then the use of hand sanitizers can also complement. It's very effective. This is a condition that spreads airborne, so by droplets. So practicing and adhering to cough etiquettes is very helpful, so that you protect yourself and protect your dear ones. And then the need for adhere to sneezing etiquettes is also very helpful. You protect yourself and protect dear ones. Okay. Health staff should be sensitized, have been informed and being sensitized to have high index of suspicion, so that if somebody comes up with symptoms that could be the condition, you need to think simple symptoms of acute respiratory infection. Think H1N1 as well, and the necessary investigations that need to be done, samples to be taken and sent to appropriate lab for confirmation. This is a condition that you cannot diagnose in a district or regional lab. You need to send the sample to the National Influenza Center for the necessary investigations to be done for confirmation. We have effective system for contact tracing. As soon as you suspect a case, you should let the health authorities know, so that the contacts should be identified and followed up actively, so that if any of them are coming down with signs and symptoms that will mean further spread, then the people would also be contained adequately, and the minimize undue mix-up of the cases and the rest of the general population, to make sure that you break transmission as early as possible. So these are the things that you put in place to make sure that quickly the necessary prevention, the necessary detection, the necessary response mechanisms would be implemented to ensure that, one, we get to the end, at the bottom of this outbreak as soon as possible and declare over, and subsequently over the years, or over the period, prevent further occurrences.
Now, finally, Kufuor Sectec, what is currently being done to prevent the spread of meningitis? That is what the case is, right? Yes, what is currently being done?
The spread of meningitis is also similar to this, and mostly through spread by coughing airborne. So the same mechanisms that we propose for this, as adhering to cough etiquettes, sneezing etiquettes, and then people reporting early as possible. The symptoms and signs of meningitis include fever, headache, neck pain, neck stiffness, and then dislike for light. As you are facing this light, if it were a case of meningitis, then you have some reaction and the person doesn't want to face the light. You call that photophobia. So these are typical, and there you have a treatment for it. You have effective antibiotic. Some of them have vaccines. There's various types, and we have vaccines for some of them. Indeed, we introduced the type A vaccines in all the 3 northern regions, and that has almost eliminated the type A meningitis in the country. And that is why we are not having massive outbreaks. And as much as we have reduced that, other serotypes are also coming up. The W type, which we've had some outbreak, is becoming more prominent, and then the C type that we had for that of Kumaka in April, and then we had also the C in Obuasi 2010, and again Ofuase in Asante-Akim South District, also in Ashanti region. So the C types seem to be in the middle belt, and these are coming up. So we need to prepare, and when it happens, we pick it early, and then once there's the need to provide the necessary protection.
Well, so you learned a thing or two about H1N1 there from Dr. Bedu Sarkodie. He's the Director of Public Health at Ghana Health Service. But Bright, it's time for us to go to make way for what shows us Afro Tales.
Great.
Afro Tales as well.
It's been a wonderful Monday morning. Yeah. I'm sure we've served you the best of breakfast, and that means.
Did you say Monday?
Oh, today's Tuesday. Okay, great. Great.
You're taking us back.
Yeah. And so we're sure that we're doing the best of breakfast that will make you ready for the day. We're so grateful that you're still there with us. This is how we're wrapping up the show for now. We'll be back tomorrow to do the midweek edition, promising to be more exciting, more beneficial to you. Stay right here on TV3.
Certainly.
We are
and in the evening, it will be Sadia. So tune in, and tomorrow's solutions will be on your screens at 8 p.m. So all of you stay tuned in. Have a good day. Stay blessed.